Welcome back to Mac Stories Unwind. We are back with another brand new episode. I am John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Viticci. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm having a great day. We've got a brand new podcast on Mac Stories this week, which is Magic Rays of Light. They've joined the Mac Stories family of podcasts, as we're calling it, which is, of course, App Stories.
The MFP, the Mac Stories family of podcasts.
Oh, that's
There's probably a better name for it somewhere. We'll think about it.
All right. Well, we'll start with MFP for now. But yeah, App Stories, Mac Stories Unwind, and now Magic Rays of Light, which is hosted by Sigmund Judge and Devin Dundee. And you and I, they were kind enough to invite us to guest appear on their show as they were joining Mac Stories to kind of help with the announcement. And so we did that this week. The show came out. The episode was out on Wednesday. And, go take a listen to it. But I happen to have a pick today before we get into part 2 of your big surprise, which kind of works perfectly with that show. And that's why I wanted to put a pause for a second on your surprise and recommend that people go watch Godzilla -1. Okay. Because on Magic Rays of Light, we talked about Monarch Legacy of Monsters, which is an Apple TV Plus show that I absolutely love. And right in the middle of watching that series, I went over the holidays to see Godzilla -1, which is a Japanese film with subtitles that's quite long. And that, I would say, is the only downside to it, is that it's very long, and reading subtitles for that long can get a little old, I find. But it is a fantastic movie set right in the aftermath of World War II in post-war Japan, and has a lot of elements that have been borrowed from some of the really campy early 60s, 70s Godzilla movies. It's Godzilla who has been, kind of lingering around in the Pacific during World War II, and then the war is over, and he becomes irradiated by the Americans at Bikini Atoll, where they're testing nuclear weapons. And now Godzilla has like this nuclear fire ray that he can breathe out of his mouth. And he attacks Japan itself. And he just attacks Tokyo and the surrounding areas. And I don't want to give it away, but it's a good story of a World War II kamikaze pilot who doesn't die during the war, and a young woman who takes in a child who's been orphaned during the war, and their relationship with his fellow coworkers, because this former kamikaze pilot ends up being a minesweeper. He goes out and is trying to get the mines out of the water in the Pacific after World War II, and they happen on Godzilla. And then there's a whole plot to try to contain, get rid of, kill Godzilla. And I don't want to give that away, but it is extremely well done. Lots of great action. The TV Plus series focuses a lot on relationships between the characters and maybe has fewer monsters than a lot of people would like. This movie has tons of monster footage. It's very exciting, very fun, and I highly recommend everybody go see it. Plus, just this week, it was announced that they're coming out with a black and white version. And I don't know if this is like a Snyder cut of the Justice League or what, but the stills I've seen of it in black and white look really cool because it gives it that real feel from those older black and white movies that came out quite a long time ago.
All right, that's a very good pick. Thank you for sharing that. So last week I surprised you with my plan for Nintendo Switch emulation, right? And part 1 of the surprise was my reveal that over the holidays I had been ripping my own Nintendo Switch games, the physical cartridges and the digital ones, to play them in Yuzu, the emulator for Nintendo Switch on PC. So I detailed my setup for Yuzu and how I've been playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and other Nintendo Switch games, and we reached the end of the episode with a question, but what's the hardware that you're running this on?
Exactly.
And let me tell you, John, what I'm about to say, part 2 of the surprise will take some twists and turns that you're not expecting. I have been through this odyssey of trying to figure this out. And I have come out of this mission victorious, first of all,
Okay.
but not in the way that I was expecting or that you will be expecting, because you have no idea what I've been up to. And I can already tell you there will be a part 3 next week. This is not
Nice.
over. This is not over here today.
Some people sometimes probably think that you and I are just play acting, that I'm going to be surprised. I literally have no idea what
No,
you're
he has no idea.
talking about. I have zero idea, and I've had people ask me, what is it? What's Federico up to? And I really don't know.
Yeah. So, I started testing Yuzu on my ROG Ally, obviously. And you know me, I love the ROG Ally, but I mean, let's face it, there's only so much power that the ROG Ally can push. It's a handheld. It's got
Right.
limited space inside for the GPU, for the CPU, for the cooling system. And so I started thinking, well, what's a better way for me to play Nintendo Switch games on a PC with Yuzu with really good performance than the kind of performance that I cannot get on an ROG Ally? And so I started thinking about this. I sold my previous gaming rig. I used to have a gaming laptop. I used to have a desktop gaming PC. I sold both of them last year. And I didn't want to go back to those devices. I started thinking, well, maybe the ideal device for me is a laptop. There's plenty of gaming laptops. I mean, we covered some of the new ones that came out at CES, but there's plenty of
Oh.
existing ones. But I didn't want to have a laptop.
Hmm.
I had a laptop. They're super thick. They're heavy. The
Yeah.
keyboard is not detachable. I went into this research knowing that I wanted to have a bigger screen than my ROG Ally. And of course, I can always play games on my TV with the XG Mobile that I have. It's got HDMI out. I can play those games on a TV.
Sure.
But I wanted to have a bigger screen, ideally in an all-in-one form factor, without the constraints of a laptop. And you may wonder, well, does that product even exist?
Right.
And now, John, it does. And so for the past month, probably even more than a month, I've been playing all my games, Steam games, Yuzu games, on an Asus Z13 convertible tablet. Do you know this product?
I do not.
So the Z13 is a pretty unique product in that it's Asus gaming version of a Microsoft Surface. Essentially, after a year, I've gone back to having a Windows tablet, but I'm not using it for work. I'm only using it for entertainment, for gaming. This is a computer that I have set up specifically just for gaming and watching the occasional YouTube video. I don't have, and I made a point out of not having any work apps on it, just games. The beauty of this is that it's a thick, chunky tablet. And let me give you some specs. It's got an RTX 4050 inside. That's the NVIDIA 4050 laptop version. It's got a vapor chamber cooling system. It's got fans. It's thicker than a Microsoft Surface. It's much thicker and heavier than an iPad. It's got 16 gigs of RAM. It's got a 13 Gen i9 Intel CPU. Comes with a built-in kickstand as a 165 hertz refresh rate screen and a detachable keyboard. So the beauty of the Z13, and you can stop me whenever you want.
Well, is this the ROG Flow Z13? Is that what this is?
Yeah, it's the ROG Flow Z13.
Okay, I am looking at it online right now, and this looks really interesting. Yeah, I can see exactly what you mean by it. It's thicker and chunkier for sure, because obviously there's a lot of compute power behind that screen.
Yeah,
and it's got the kickstand, and it's got the NVIDIA. All right, I got you.
This product ticked all my boxes.
Oh, and it works with the XG Mobile too.
Exactly. So I knew that so I started thinking, okay, so what is the ideal big screen that I can put on my lap and I can use a controller to play games in bed or at the kitchen table or on my desk or in the car. Like, that was also one of my priorities. Like, what can I use to play games and use it with really good performance while I'm in the car or while I'm in the kitchen? It's got XG Mobile support. So I can connect this to the XG Mobile to get the performance of a 4090, I can connect this to the TV. So I can use the Z13 and the XG Mobile to output games in 4K or 1440p to my TV. But I don't have to connect to the XG Mobile, because if I just want to use it for what it is, I've been playing Zelda at night with the Z13 with the keyboard detached on my lap, and it totally works and it's beautiful. I've been playing Zelda with Yuzu in the car. Thanks to the kickstand, I can place the Z13 on my steering wheel and angle it just. Yes, I can, and I can angle it just right. Now,
You're hooking it inside the middle of the steering wheel, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Actually, no, the top of the steering wheel.
Oh,
and
I see.
I can just place the kickstand there, and it balances out. And I can.
All right.
I've been playing Zelda for hours at a time in my car like that. Now, power delivery has been an issue, because you see the Z13 supports a turbo mode to push the CPU and the GPU to their limits.
Right.
The fans get very loud, but that's how you get really good performance out of it.
I assume this thing has fans on the ends or the top or something like, or like vents and all that.
So it's got vents for air intake behind, and the fans that push the hot air out at the top. That was also part of my research and why this form factor is ideal for me. Because when I place this with the kickstand on my lap, so let's say, for example, that I'm playing in bed, nothing blocks the air intake from behind, and nothing blocks the air going out at the top.
Right.
So many gaming laptops have air intake at the bottom, and that wouldn't have worked for playing with this on my lap. I needed to have something that wouldn't block the cooling system. The only issue has been power delivery, because to enable turbo mode, so you can choose between 3 modes: silent, performance, and turbo. Silent and performance, I mean, silent is what you use to have the tablet be silent, but also you can only play indie games and like 2D games. Like you can play Sea of Stars in silent, and it's totally fine. Performance is what you can use to push the CPU and GPU, but eventually you run into throttling. Right? Turbo is what you really want to get to enable maximum performance. However,
how much power does that require?
So turbo is only enabled if you're using the official Asus charger, which is a 130 watt power brick you need to put that you need to plug into a power outlet.
Right. So it has a standard wall plug that you need to. And so what you need now, you obviously need that battery that I've got that actually has a wall plug, except they don't make it. They don't make it for
Unfortunately, that doesn't work, because for whatever reason, the Asus BIOS for this computer is blocking USB-C power delivery connections from going above 100 watts. This is really my only complaint about this product, that USB-C power delivery does not support turbo mode. Turbo mode only works with the Asus power brick.
Well, what I was suggesting is the battery I have actually has a standard wall plug in it, and it can deliver more, but I think that it only delivers up to 120 watts. I don't know if it goes 130.
I have looked into all of this, and I've even looked into, well, what if I find a way to have a wall plug in my car?
That's what I mean. Yeah, like one of those like cigarette lighter type things.
I tested two. They're called inverters that plug into the cigarette lighter, whatever it's called, like the AC plug of the car. Unfortunately, neither of those work. So if anybody has any recommendation, after a certain amount of time, for whatever reason, both the inverters that I tried started randomly shutting off and on again. And that, of course, caused turbo mode to be disabled on the Z13. So if anybody has any recommendations for an inverter that actually works and doesn't shut off after 30 minutes in the car, I'm all ears.
Yeah, they're probably overheating would be my guess. Can I ask you a couple questions here?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I have 2 big ones. One is, in turbo mode, how noisy is it? Like if you're playing...
Oh, it's noisy. It's noisy.
So can you really do that in bed? Like if you have Sylvia sleeping next to you?
So if Sylvia is sleeping really heavily, I can. Like if she's, she's really in
right.
deep
But like
sleep,
if she just went to bed, she'd be annoyed.
No, I can. Usually, I've been playing like Sea of Stars in silent or Yuzu in performance. But I
I
can tell
see.
you, even Yuzu in performance, I can play at 1440p Tears of the Kingdom, and I can get a stable 40, 45 FPS out
Okay.
of that game with increased field of view, with
Yep.
improved fog rendering. It's
Uh-huh.
incredible, like how beautiful Tears of the Kingdom looks, even in performance. Then, obviously, in turbo, I mean, and even if I connect my XG mobile, that's when I can play,
Oh, I
something
bet.
like Tears of the Kingdom at 1440p at a stable 60 FPS, which is
Yeah.
an experience. It's
Oh yeah.
absolutely gorgeous.
That's completely unheard of on on a Switch, right? I mean,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, it is.
what?
It is.
Let me ask you about the keyboard too. Are you using it?
Uh, Occasionally just to take screenshots with the
Yeah,
hotkeys.
or I guess to
Uh,
maybe like do stuff like installing some
yeah,
games or something.
yeah, yeah. I just use it, to install games, manage my Steam library, do that sort of stuff.
Right.
Um, I really, really like this tablet, but something kept bugging me about it,
What?
John. Well, I knew that Asus made multiple versions of the Z13.
Okay.
They made a version with a 4060 GPU inside, but
That's
really
the one that I'm looking at. Yeah.
my main problem, the 4060 version I couldn't find, but my main problem was the RAM limitations. 16 gigs. Yuzu would consistently fill up the whole RAM
Oh
available
yeah.
on the
16.
computer.
Yeah, 16's not great.
But unfortunately, the only version of the Z13 with 32 gigs of RAM that Asus made was the limited edition Z13 acronym edition.
They make so many products.
Have you ever seen the Z13 acronym?
I go on. I've been on this site many times. I've never even seen this Z13. I mean, they make
The
so much stuff. I
Z
have no idea what you're talking about.
The Z13 acronym is a
Okay.
limited edition, sort of fashion oriented version
Okay.
of the Z13 that Asus made in partnership with this design and fashion brand and clothing line called Acronym, which
Okay.
is a very weird looking version of the Z13.
Huh.
It's rugged. It's made of, the back is made of aluminum.
It's
It's
a little
metal.
military-ish, right? It's got a
It's
little
a
bit
little
of
military. It's got bumpers on all the four corners where you can
right.
attach straps to carry these around like a briefcase.
It's like one of those Panasonic Tough books that they used to show
It's
off at CES.
I believe it's sort of known as an avant-garde version of the Z13.
All
Um,
right.
that was released in very limited quantities, was reviewed on The Verge. It's still the same 13.4-inch tablet, still the same Z13 family of devices,
The
but it
keyboard's a
has
little odd.
the keyboard is very odd. It's got all these fancy like design glyphs and odd
Yeah.
keys. It's very odd looking, but it's got the same ports, same XG mobile support,
Yeah.
very different design, but still a Z13. But the thing is, it was the best version of the Z13. It had 32 gigs of RAM
Oh, it's got a
and
4070.
a 4070
Yeah.
inside, an
Yeah. Yeah.
RTX 4070. So I had to get it. I knew I had to return my Z13 and try and find a way to get this. Unfortunately, this product was sold out everywhere. And that was until I found a guy in Germany who was
A guy
selling
in
one.
Germany.
This person was selling a Z13 acronym without the fancy accessories.
Okay.
He said the computer was new, never used, but it was missing the accessories and it was missing the power brick.
Huh. So
And
it's missing like the strap. It was missing the
Sorry.
strap that makes it like a briefcase.
Missing the strap that was making it a briefcase, but otherwise a brand new computer.
Okay.
And so I thought about it. It was more expensive. I thought, well, maybe I should return the 4050 and hopefully I won't get scammed by this person.
Yeah.
I wasn't scammed. I got the computer. I was very happy. It looked brand new. I set it up. I started playing games and it wasn't working.
Oh no.
I was getting incredibly bad performance.
Huh.
Yuzu could basically not run. I
Well,
was getting Zelda at like 5 FPS. I spent the days after Christmas going crazy. Like, I just spent a lot of money on
yeah,
eBay for the product that is likely going to be impossible to return. And this is not working. I was losing my mind. Everything was getting throttled all the time. And I was getting the performance of like a 6-year-old computer, while it should have been a much better version of the Z13. And I
right, right.
thought, I was desperate. I thought I had lost all my money. I was really, really worried that this was all for nothing. And I had returned my Z13, and now I didn't have anything anymore. And then I had an idea. It was like a Hail Mary for me.
Yeah,
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to contact Italian ASUS support, explain my situation, and try and see if I can send it in for RMA, so for assistance, for
yep,
technical support.
yep.
Can I send it in, and can they figure out what's going on? And John, it took ASUS Italy 5 days, and it worked. I didn't pay
Wow,
anything. The computer
wow.
was still under warranty. I was concerned, like, this
Sure,
third party support company that ASUS has as a contractor in Italy, they have probably never seen a Z13 acronym.
right,
What are they
right.
going to do? But I got a report from the assistance shop. The computer was pushing out cold air. The cooling system was not working. And that's why I wasn't getting any performance out of it.
Was it like disconnected inside or something?
They
Maybe.
had, so in the report that I have, they had to open it, replace the fans, and reapply the liquid metal paste on top of the cooling system.
Sure, sure.
So I got the Z13 acronym back, and John, it works beautifully.
This thing is wild, Federico. I scrolled down to the pictures of this guy who's in like this jumpsuit with all these zippers.
Yeah.
And he's got this thing, he's got the straps around his neck, and he's got a stylus, and it looks like he's picking out clothes from a fashion website. And the back of this thing has all these crisscrossy lines and vents, and this website has like matrix style numbers and letters scrolling down the middle of it.
Yes, a random alphabet on the keys. Yes, this computer is weird. This computer is me. This is a tablet.
The weirdest computer I have ever seen.
This is the weirdest tablet I could possibly get. This is my dream gaming tablet. It's weird. It's odd looking, and it's got the performance of my dreams.
Yeah, no, I totally get the performance part. I'm looking at these specs, and these specs are incredible for a tablet.
Zelda Tears of the Kingdom in laptop mode without the XG Mobile, 1440p, 80-degree field of view, stable 60 FPS.
Wow.
And of course, it doesn't fill all my RAM. I put in a 2 terabyte SSD that I got, and this thing, John, is absolutely incredible. What you can do with turbo mode on this computer with a 4070 and 32 gigs of RAM, this is the best gaming tablet, I believe, that you can get today. But it was a bit of a journey for me to get
here. It sure sounds like it.
You have no idea how sad and preoccupied I was when I thought that person on eBay, which was also turned out to be a really kind guy and offered me like, hey, I can, give you a reimbursement. I was like, no, I don't want any money from you. I got to figure this out. I got in touch with a local retailer in Rome. They never got back to me. And then I had an idea. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I'm going to try and contact ASUS. The first time I contacted ASUS Italy, it wasn't even an option to select this computer because it's not available in Italy. So I had to put in a support ticket and say, hey, I have this version of the Z13, but I see that the model number is not in the list of supported devices. And they got back to me and they're like, yeah, you can, we updated our support site. So now you can select your computer and you can send it in for RMA, and we're gonna fix it for you. I gotta tell you, ASUS technical support in Italy, double thumbs up.
Really? Yeah, I'm
Yes.
surprised only because I would have thought that they would not necessarily have great support. And I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have. I'm just surprised.
Yeah.
Um,
So there you go. That is part two of my surprise, a journey into the Z13 family of devices
well,
that ended with the weirdest possible computer I ever saw and I ever owned in my life that does exactly what I needed to do. It's a tablet, it's a convertible, it's got a 4070, 32 gigs of RAM. I can connect it to the XG mobile and I can play games in bed, on the go, in my car, whenever I want. And I can use Nintendo Switch games at 1440p if I want to. It's my dream.
this thing is absolutely out of this world. I'm going to put a picture in the show notes because I don't even, I mean, my favorite picture is one of the first ones right under this. It's called Stabilized Grip is the header. And there's this guy in sunglasses with all these zippers on his jacket holding this thing in front of his face. And it's just like,
I,
I don't
I'm
know.
gonna
There's a
t- I'm
lot
gonna tell
going
you
on.
I'm gonna tell you one last funny thing about it.
Yeah.
When I got they have all these weird phrases and letters printed on top of it, right? They
Right.
say
Yeah.
it's true for the packaging. So when I got the box, I looked at the box and it said property of working group, not for resale. I was like,
Oh, did you
man,
get like
did I get like a stolen device?
right, like a prototype or something?
I Googled like ASUS Z13 acronym, property of working group, and I found a guy on Reddit with my same question. Be like, hey,
Right.
guys, I got the Z13 acronym, but it says property of working group. And people replied, yeah, that's just a weird fashion, cool thing, hipster thing that
Sure.
they did on the box. It's not really a stolen device.
When was
Yeah.
when was this thing released?
Last spring. There's a review on The Verge that you should
Okay,
link. It's
I'll
a
take a
really
look
good
at the review. I'm just curious when it came out because I don't remember seeing this, and it is absolutely bananas looking, and it doesn't look like it's available for purchase anywhere.
No, it's not anymore.
I went
Man,
to
I
the
gotta
US
tell you,
website too.
that's why I kept telling you, and I thought you were gonna figure it out. All the times I told you, man, I love Asus as a company, the kind of hardware that they make. Now I can tell you, my next surprise is not the ROG Phone 8. It's not that. It's
I did have a glimmer of wondering whether you went in on that, but I knew you had been doing this over the holidays, and that phone is just, I don't even know if it's actually out yet, but yeah. Oh, wow.
Man,
This is
it's
really
done.
something. Wow.
It's done. I feel so relieved. Now you know everything. Well, almost
What?
everything because
There's still
well,
one more. There's still one more piece.
let's just say there are different ways to try Yuzu. And I'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. This is good. I'm glad that you've done all this research for me. I'm not going to be buying this crazy tablet just because.
But I still want to say the base 4050 version is excellent.
Okay.
Really for all the regardless of the 16 gigs of RAM limitation for Yuzu, for everything else, it was really an excellent gaming tablet.
Okay.
And I highly recommend it.
I was going to say, you could open this and put your own storage in it because you said you got 2 terabytes.
Yeah,
because
it's
it
got
looks like it comes with one.
an M2 SSD. You can just put in yours. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I've got Stockholm syndrome. I'm not used to being able to replace storage or memory or anything like that. You know, I mean, just not a thing with Apple. All right. Well, thank you, Federico. That was a really good surprise.
Yeah. Well, I'm not done.
I know. I love this tablet. I love it for its weirdness. I love the fact that there's just these random, looks like upside down P's and backwards C's and all these other characters.
Bumpers, man, it's the bumpers that really do it for me. They're so weird and you cannot remove them. It's such a weird computer.
The silver bumpers is where the strap goes attached to it. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, those are the bumpers on all the four corners. This computer is the physical manifestation of the weirdness of my brain.
It's a little bit like a transformer is what it looks like.
Yes.
What if a transformer were a tablet instead of a car? This is kind of it. All right.
There you have it.
That's it for today, folks. I will make sure to put some links and some photos in the show notes so everybody can see this absolutely bonkers tablet that Federico is playing Switch games on. This is I'm gonna call it right here, Federico. I don't think there's anybody else on this globe who's playing Tears of the Kingdom on an Asus Z13 acronym.
You are very much wrong. There's plenty of us out there. No, there's a handful of people on Reddit. I don't know if they're listening to this, but there are some people. There's way more people playing on the base version with the 4050, which I want to reiterate. It's a really, really excellent product. This one is slightly better because it has better specs.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. All right, well, that's good. That's good. I'm going to try not to look at the regular spec one because I don't know. I mean, I don't. I've got some expenses coming up with the Vision Pro. I'm going to try to be good for at least a few months after doing that. All right, everybody. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode of Mac Stories Unwind. Don't forget to check out Magic Rays of Light. It's a really cool show all about Apple TV and Apple Entertainment and all those sorts of things. You can find the two of us over at macstories.net. We are also on Mastodon. Just go to viticci.macstories.net and johnvorhees.macstories.net to find us on Mastodon. Federico is on Threads and Instagram where he's at Viticci. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHWS. Until next time, Federico.
Ciao, John.